of your lips off.
Yeah,
that was all you needed to do.
I have a droopy mustache zone, and wife is now.
Okay, you're being groomed.
She's grooming me.
Ask her what scale of 1 to 10 enjoyment for what's going on right
now. Scale of 1 to 10. Yeah, she says 8.
8. Okay, well, I guess a match made in barber heaven.
On the Barbary Coast. I want a pirate-themed barbershop called the Barbary Coast. That's from Monkey Island 3. It's fine. Here's the other thing that happens. So John, have you ever had this where your mustache gets long and like the hair right under your nose is actually growing up towards your nose?
I don't really experience that. That sounds terrible. I do experience the each day one hair decides to bother your lips.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like, I know that a lot of people have difficult lives, but I don't think anyone has to deal with anything more annoying than that. It's like one hair. It's so annoying. It's like the main reason I don't grow my facial hair, because then it would be like way more. I'm glad that no one else is listening to this, because I seriously do believe that I have just about the hardest life for that reason alone. Other things too, but mostly
weird looking.
You look great. I don't know why you're
now. It looks like I have freckles.
Nobody can see that. It's too.
Now that I pointed it out,
do you think the stream is?
I don't know what we did, but it's a mess.
Your whole head is the size of my thumb.
Everything's fine
at best. I guess people could be watching on TV. I suppose that's.
Like, see how it looks like.
Am I forgetting to do something? What do I normally do at this point?
Have you sent a title?
I sent a title. I think. Yeah,
it's still long. You still have fringe.
It's very long. I don't normally have titles.
You gotta go down. You gotta go down. See, you've been pulling out.
Tabs open.
And what did I say about pulling out?
You're still cutting his beard hair.
He has to be perfect, John.
John, oh God, no, that's right. That's it.
I need to just get on this side.
She needed to get on that side. Hey, John.
It's like a topiary.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a show? All right, we're gonna do the intro, but you're kind.
Bye.
My wife I think she just got Taft-Hartley'd after that.
Wonderful. Okay.
All right, intro in 10.
Okay, I've got stuff for
hat on.
This. Okay, sorry. I've like remembered the things I need to do very late. Yeah. I think it's too late. I don't think I'm doing the show. Good morning, one and all, to a Friday edition of the Damage Report with me, John Iadarola, and despite the fact that he's currently on vacation, Brett Erlich coming to us live from Mary Poppins.
Hi, this is a straw hat. I don't think it's like the actual kind of hat one wears on vacation.
If you're strolling through the English countryside or riding a bizarre old school bicycle, I think you could.
This Surrey doesn't have a fringe on top.
I just watched When Harry Met Sally. Everything's coming up me. Well, look, Brett, thank you for being here despite being on your vacation. You are doing like the exact same thing that you and Anna say that I do. Why are you doing that? You don't have to be doing this.
What, you're working while you're away?
Yeah, you could have gotten.
Oh, I responded to an analytics email while I was on vacation.
It's fun.
But you know what?
Vacation anyway.
I have my vacation iPad. I don't know if you guys have one of these, a vacation iPad. Well, it's a vacation iPad cover. You put it on and then you treat yourself not like the person who's on vacation, but the kids of the people who are on vacation, where they give them an iPad and go like, have your iPad time because mommy and daddy are drinking. And then you just sit there in isolation watching Dora or whatever kids watch these days.
Despite being at a delightful place.
Yeah. I'm really
you're
excited.
In Hawaii watching Moana on your iPad.
I've watched Moana so many times, John.
I really like him. I didn't know that we'd be talking about Moana, but I think Moana is one of the best Disney movies, and Stitch is up there too. Basically, just be in Hawaii. It's
a twofer. You get to be like feeling like a kid and in a tropical paradise, despite a few reedy lines from The Rock. But
what?
He's not that good. He's not that good an actor.
We're gonna move on, but I have
about like Vin Diesel and The Rock, but
That's what's so weird about it. Anyway, we got news to talk about, and I was going to say, I intended to say this before the show, but we gotta proceed expeditiously. So we got a lot to get to, and I want to get to all of it. So we're gonna get to all of it. So everybody needs to shut up in the audience, but mostly me and you. Anyway, okay, so we're gonna cover a lot in this next 90 minutes, or we're gonna try at least. We'll probably talk more about Vin Diesel, The Rock. What's up with that feud on set? Can they get past it? Will they ever do a scene together again? And while we're doing all of that, you can hit the like button, you can share the stream, let people know what's going on. Oh, also, we were doing our pre-show on the YouTube channel. We usually start around 9:15, 9:20. And I realized I never really promote it on the show. So I don't even know if you're watching this in the members thing, or if you're watching on Twitch, if you even know that this exists. So it does, about 40, 45 minutes before the show every day on YouTube, we do a little live video, talk about some other news. So coming out, it's fun. And Brett, with that, you ready to talk about some news?
I couldn't be more excited. And you know what? I just want to say I'm so happy to be here. So happy, in fact, that I delayed the pedicure I'm getting later. I'm getting a pedicure at 1 p.m.
Are you
today.
actually?
Never done it. Been walking around without my shoes on. The feet, I have passed a threshold, and now there's a household government mandated pedicure that's about to happen later today. I couldn't be more excited. I've always wanted to sit on one of those chairs, like high chairs for people.
I kind of feel that way, but for shoe shines, and I've once gotten my shoes shined before a meeting, and I left feeling incredibly guilty. So the most shocking thing about what you just told me is that you've never had it done before. I would have guessed that you definitely would have had it done.
No, I like to take care of myself, but I've never done this.
Okay. Well, be sure to post pics on Instagram before and after. Anyway, we're gonna talk about some news. It's tragic news, but that's the news that's presented. You go to war with the army you've got, not the news that you want. Okay, so let's talk about this. Incredible tragedy. I'm sure most people watching this are familiar with this, but actor Alec Baldwin on the set of a Western movie currently filming called Rust, cocked and fired what was supposed to be a prop gun and hit and eventually killed the film's cinematographer, hit the director as well. So Helena Hutchins, 42-year-old, was airlifted directly from the set of the movie Rust to the University of New Mexico Hospital in Albuquerque and died from her injuries as a result of being hit by that shot. Baldwin also hit the film's director, Joel Souza. One of the film's stars, Francis Fisher, said Souza was released from the hospital early Friday morning. One of the through lines in this story is that there's not a lot of incredibly detailed information, so it is not clear whether it was only one shot or more than one. I am assuming it had to be one shot, so presumably, that is what happened. In any event, we're gonna talk about a few different implications of this, but I wanna start off by talking about the individual who tragically died in this horrific accident. Ms. Hutchins was from Ukraine, grew up on a Soviet military base in the Arctic Circle. She studied journalism in Kiev and film in LA, was named a rising star by the American Cinematographer magazine back in 2019. And you can see some shots of her. Everybody that worked with her seemed to just have great things to say about her and her potential in the field. She described herself as an adventurer and a risk taker, and her biography seems to bear that out, coming to a very different place to pursue the work that she wanted to do. And when this story broke, people were tweeting about it. I didn't believe that it was true. It sounded fake. And by the way, some components of the story have not been borne out, and we'll talk about that as well. But Brett, did you live find out about this as it was initially breaking?
I found out about this through a notification that came to my phone from the New York Times, and it is. I mean, you hear about this. This has happened. People have died on set as a result of handling, when you say what's supposed to be a prop gun, it depends on how they're coordinating the stunt or the use of the prop, right? So you can have a gun that is plastic and doesn't shoot anything, or you can have a gun that shoots blanks, or you can have various guns that look realistic or not. You can have a blank in the chamber and shoot it, and there is gas that comes out. There's all there's gunpowder in that. there's not supposed to be a projectile, but like the rule on set, I mean, there's so many protocols that go into having a realistic prop on set of like a union production that get followed. And I've worked with prop masters who go from being the most laid back people to the most I mean, most of the professionals are like this. Like they're like, all right, this is the protocol that we go through. Like we are going to check to see if there's a bullet in the magazine, if there's a bullet in the chamber. People have died on set like doing, like pretending to like shoot themselves in the head with what they think is a prop, but the prop master hasn't had a chance to explain to them, like we have to check to see what's in this gun, if there's a bullet or not. So when you hear that someone was killed on set with a prop gun, if you're outside of that, you're like, how the hell could it happen? But if you have worked on productions before, you're like, there are like 6 or 7 different ways this could happen. And it depends on if Alec Baldwin, who's probably handled, he's been in so many movies, in so many plays, and handled so many props. It just reeks of terrible, terrible mistake.
Terrible mistake for multiple people to reach that. And you described some of the ways these props, like they literally can just be a piece of rubber that looks like a gun. They can be guns designed to shoot non-bullet projectiles for the purposes of this. They can be active firearms firing blanks. They can be guns that used to be used traditionally that are modified to be prop. Like there's such a wide range. Now, initially, reports said that the gun contained live ammunition. They're now saying it contained blank rounds. Spokesperson for Rust said there was an accident today involving the misfire of a prop gun with blanks. Production has been halted for the time being. And this helps. This part of the story is really about us. It's wanting to understand how something so unthinkable, so chaotic can happen. It doesn't change how tragic it is, and that someone would die at all. Anytime someone dies like this, it's just terrible. Like so many people are going to feel so guilty, so responsible for it, even if there was no way that they could know. And by the way, really fast on the misinformation, I saw, who knows what will end up being true, but I saw, like, people take a screenshot of an article and like highlight a line. It was implying that Alec Baldwin was like joking that he was gonna shoot her and then shot at her. And then the only place I could find that article was one of these Live Eagle Patriot blank things or whatever. So that does not appear to be true, but that didn't stop the tweet that I saw from getting lots and lots of retweets online. It could end up being true, but I don't believe it is established at this point.
Right, and he's made his share of enemies on the eaglepatriot.org/TV side of the aisle. I mean, right now, what are the things that you can do? You can look around and I mean, I just can't imagine what it must be going through Alec Baldwin's head right now. He did release a statement recently saying, all the right things. Like my heart goes out to the family, to the, this woman who is now dead, who's a mother and or a daughter, and all the family members that are of her, or the people who've loved her. But I mean, these are the kinds of things. It's very dangerous on set, and there's tons of people, and it depends on you can have a huge production with thousands of people working on it, like extras and everyone at the same time, and something like this can fall through the cracks. And then on a small production, for sure, you can have things fall through the cracks. You have, there's all kinds of people whose job it is to be working together to go against the instincts of, say, directors or cinematographers or actors who want to try stuff. And even when that happens, when people, when the first AD is just like, we can't do that. When there's someone from the union saying, no, you cannot mishandle this prop that way. There's a representative on set who says, no, we can't do that. Even still, stuff like this happens. I mean, famous celebrities have died as a result of mishandled firearms on set. And people just don't know, but it's like, it's even crazier that like Alec Baldwin would know. So it seems like there's no way Alec Baldwin is pointing guns at people that he shouldn't be pointing guns at, like fake guns knowingly. Like there's no way in hell that happens.
Well, as you alluded to, despite the fact that often there are very stringent safety guidelines, which there are in this area, they get guidance saying treat all firearms as though they are loaded and things like that. That does exist. I mean, I'm listening to a behind the scenes podcast for the filming of The Office, and they talk about whenever like a candle would be lit, there would be the safety person shouting to everyone on the stage, "There's a candle." There's like they.
Well, yeah,
there are still accidents. Like so, suppose like the AP says that from 1990 to 2016, 43 people died on sets in the U.S. More than 150 had been left with life-altering injuries, including on Broadway. People know about the Spider-Man one. Back in 1993, Brandon Lee, the 28-year-old son of Bruce Lee, died on set after being accidentally shot with a prop gun during the filming of The Crow. It was later determined that the gun used had earlier fired a round that caused a cartridge to become lodged in the barrel, and blank rounds then dislodged and released that cartridge. There was another actor, this might have been who you were referring to, in 1984. Actor John Eric Hexum was killed on the set of the TV series Cover Up. He accidentally shot himself in the head with a gun loaded with blanks.
Yeah, because
just tragic.
And that's, I mean, but that's not Alec Baldwin, right? Like Alec Baldwin has been in gangster movies and movies with guns. I personally, I don't get it. You can hear people have these discussions where it's like, it'll be fine. We'll have a real firearm and we need that kickback when he pulls the trigger, so we'll use that. But like on set of, going on the Sony lot, I couldn't move a chair because of a union regulation. Like you're not supposed to be able to, people for good reason, for reasons just like this. They set off like, here is what you do, and here's what this person does. Like on Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., we were on the Culver City lot, and like if you turned around with a prop or turned it like the wrong way, the prop master would be like, I have to. We're really good friends now, but if that leaves here and I lose it, like I'm done. And if you mishandle this prop and you break it, my job's gone, everyone's gone. And the reason for that is so that you can still keep making movies and people have those regulations in place for really good reasons, so that mistakes like this don't happen. But sometimes people show up and are like, oh, they wouldn't have a loaded gun on set. Come on, and you pick it up and you shoot it. But and you'll see people all over. People online right now, like actors, are doing videos saying like, here's when I was on set, what we had to do with the firearms. But and then there's one that's kind of going, I guess, that I saw today that was, they put protective shields up in front of the camera because who knows what's gonna fly out of that, like the gas, the compressive gas that goes for a radius of whatever, a number of feet, and they put like glass shields in front of people, even when the gun isn't pointed at them, just so that they can be safe. And that's how it is on every set that you go to. Safety is paramount, and there's tons of people around there trying to protect you. And thousands of movies and TV shows and commercials are shot every day and are filmed every day. And eventually something like this happens. It's tragic and sad, and I feel bad, obviously, for the victims, and also for Alec Baldwin. Like I can't imagine what he must be feeling right now.
Yeah, well, and then the family of of the woman that died, like that's
what I said. The victims, John. Come on.
Thank you for acknowledging that, Brett. Yes. Yes, it's I know people in the chat are like, well, lots of people die. Yeah, no, I get that, but certain deaths seem more unlikely, and we are a species that fears death, that worries about dying, and we know that there are some things that we totally can't control. There are others that we think that we can, and when it's shown sometimes that we cannot, that does sort of break through. So absolute tragedy. Okay, with that, we are going to go to our first break. There's a lot more that we're going to be talking about, including some of the personalities on Fox taking a stance one way or the other on vaccine mandates at Fox. We'll have that for you after this. By the way, Brett, I see David Morris in the chat that says Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the bomb, OMG. Yeah, and someone else was like, "You were on S.H.I.E.L.D." He did for like so much with them. Like
I did, yeah. So Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. declassified, so we did some cool stuff behind the scenes there that was really, really, really fun. And that whole everybody that I worked with on that set was, but not Clark Gregg is one of, like I saw him at an Apple store and he was like, "Brett, how are you doing?" And I was like, "You stop it! You stop being so thoroughly great."
Stop it! Let's be besties.
Ming is amazing. Everybody that works on that, yeah, Ian and Elizabeth are great. Elizabeth Henstridge like reached out to me on Instagram recently just to be like, "That was really fun." And I was like, you stop. I'm just some schmuck on set.
Oh, I know, and also I'm blushing. Okay, well, thank you. Also, Chris Nesbitt in the super chat says, "Super chat for Brett's vacation Mai Tais." Is it a Mai Tai that you've got there?
It is a pink lemonade, like from concentrate. You know those cylinders of joy that are in the freezer section that you like.
Oh yeah.
Pull off.
I have not made one of those in a long time. Don't say that. Jason Ray says, guns are dangerous, you say. You'd think we would want to control who can and will have them. Oh no, everyone gets one, good plan. Yeah, I mean, in this case, there is generally much more control. But yeah, anything can happen. You can only be so responsible with any firearm. They're still firearms. Straw Hat Dragon says, "Hey John and Brett, happy Friday. It's my birthday tomorrow. Wondering if I could get an early shout out. Have a great day. Sorry, we just don't have time."
Yeah, sorry, I'm busy. I'm actually busy right now. I'm doing a show.
Yeah, we're doing a show. I can't give you a shout out. No, I totally am. And thank you for being here and watching.
Happy birthday.
And James sent us a super chat as well. Doesn't have a message, but we still appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, over in the Twitch section, Stephmont says, "My sister was in Kauai last week and my sis-in-law is there this week. I'm totally jealous. I have been to Hawaii once. It was where I got engaged. It's the only vacation I've ever had like that, where you like go to a beautiful place or whatever, a tropical place. It was pretty cool."
That's the only vacation, John. The only vacation is one at a tropical place. People who go to mountains are psychotic and are like, "Oh, you know, it'd be great
stuff like that.
Being cold." Oh, but hot chocolate, hot.
We were cold in Amsterdam. We had fun with it.
It was fun, but that's not a vacation. That's a trip. A vacation.
Sure.
Is like you can go on a trip and be like, "Oh, I smoke weed and I drink coffee," because that's what Amsterdam's about. Yeah. But like, there's nothing quite like going to like a beach. You have to have a palm tree for it to be a vacation.
Yeah, okay. So Amsterdam, but tropical. Oh, that'd be awesome. Anyway, by the way, I'm seeing someone in the chat is saying, "Have you seen the shooting already being politicized?" No, I can only imagine what Fox News is gonna say about it. I mean, obviously they hate Alec Baldwin. And by the way, I don't like Alec Baldwin. I have no positive or negative feelings about him, really. It's obviously a tragic mistake. That's obvious, but God only knows what they're gonna be saying about it. By the way, Lucid Fox gave us a raid.
Hey, Lucid Fox.
And at the same time, subscribed for the 12th month. Man, that's a 1-2 shot right there. I like it. Onakaizoku. I should have given this to Brett. Subscribe for 8 months, says, "Like Squid Game, but shuns the Running Man." Shaking my head. Also, please accept my monthly tribute. Wait, who's shunning the Running Man? Did Bart say something? Okay, we got more. We'll be back after this. Okay, everybody, before we jump back into the news, I want to let you know about a few things that are coming up, including that there will be a power panel later today. It's Friday, we're obligated. But what's gonna make it so exciting is I'm gonna be joined in the first hour, not by Cenk, we booted him, we didn't have room. We're getting Francesca Fiorentini and Senator Nina Turner in the same hour. I don't know, has that happened before? It's gonna be very exciting. And J.R. Jackson is gonna be joined by Farron Cousins and Wosny Lambre. Another awesome hour of news that's coming up later today. All the places you would expect. There's gonna be Galaxy Brain at 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/TYT. Ben Carollo coming at you with Galaxy Brain. And Brett, there is also, there's Game Busters. What's going on in Game Busters?
Bustin' makes me feel good. That's the song, that's a lyric from the Ghostbusters song.
I watched that recently, yeah. It made me smile when I heard that.
And then we've got, what are we doing? I don't know, I think we're playing Dead by Daylight.
Nice.
Which fun. Is really scary, and it's gonna be a lot.
When can they watch that?
Tonight at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, only at twitch.tv/TYT. Jordan Yule will be your dungeon master.
Nice. That's 5:30 to 6:30?
7. 5:30 to 7. We go 90 minutes.
Nice.
We're like
a
soccer game.
The best shows are 90 minutes, personally. Anyway, okay, with that, we'll have more we're gonna tell you about later, but let's move on to the news. Fox News mixed it up a few months back. They've been doing month after month after month of telling you shouldn't get vaccinated, and they're still doing that. But a couple months ago, they started plucking from around the country these people who were not complying. Hashtag do not comply with the vaccine mandates. And they loved that stuff back when it was masks or people who wouldn't socially distance. But they especially loved it when people would refuse to get the vaccine to comply with the mandate. And if that meant that they lost their jobs, that just makes them a better patriot, that they won't bow down to that sort of tyranny. And so I want to show you, this is a tweet from Matt Gertz that we've shown you multiple times. He just collects chyrons from Fox, and they're all just, it's authoritarianism. Here's someone who owns a cupcake shop and they're not gonna comply with it and all that stuff. And they really like it. They think that it makes you a great patriot to not bow down to that. Well, of course, they have a mandate. You do not have to get vaccinated at Fox, but if you don't, you need to get COVID tested every single day. Tyrannical. Actually, it is more harsh than Joe Biden's actual vaccine mandate. That testing is only every week. They are 7 or 5 times more harsh at Fox. So people have been wondering for some time, well, then why aren't you being the great patriots that you've lifted up? Why are you being the sheep that you attack for complying with this? Well, some of them are now starting to respond to that. And here is Sean Hannity talking about 2 different groups. All of the other people, the peasants, and himself.
Just wait till all these people in all these professions start leaving the workplace because of Joe's mandate and their unwillingness to work with employers. I'll tell you what my fear is. And it has nothing to do with me. I don't have a problem. I can retire tomorrow and I don't have to work another day of my life. I don't want to, but that's not, I don't think my calling's to quit. For whatever reason, God gave me a big mouth. All right. And I think he expects me to use it.
I have a calling, and it's not to like not get paid anymore. It's great when you guys do it. Oh, it's the best, Brett. When their calling is to quit. For me, I mean, I totally could. It would be super easy. I'm like totally rich. But like, I don't think it's for me to quit.
Yeah. With all these things, you have to boil it down to like, what's their priority? Sean Hannity's priority is to have an angry audience. And so this is how to do it. And he's a you first kind of guy. Like first, like he submitted to a vaccine mandate. Why? He believes in science. He believes that the vaccine is going to reduce your potential mortality, mortality rate of a patient who gets COVID. He knows that. He knows it reduces your likelihood of getting COVID. He is aware of that, and he lives his life accordingly. But when the cameras are on, what he wants to do is make you feel right to be an angry member of his audience. And even if whatever percentage of his audience dies that way, he prevents himself from dying an even more terrible death, which is a death of irrelevance and lack of audience. When the cameras are off, he lights up his vape, or like he uses his vape, he plugs in his vape and he smokes, and he's like a completely different person. But in front of the cameras, his job is to be Superman of the right with his fancy dancy haircut and talk all day long. It's all BS.
It is, and like, by the way, if you're gonna point out that like, oh, I shouldn't quit, don't lead into that by saying, by the way, I'm independently wealthy, I'm gonna be fine. Well, then it's even easier for you to quit. Some of these people who are actually quitting, like that's difficult. They don't have money. So they're like, by the way, I don't think it is patriotic, but it's definitely harder. It's definitely more of a sacrifice. And by the way, we're not saying, Sean Hannity, you can't use your big mouth anymore. You can't talk into a camera or mic anymore. I'm not saying you can't do a podcast. You can't do a YouTube show. It's that you are working for Fox. Why are you bowing down to that tyranny? Because you're wealthy and you could still do a show, but you don't care. It's convenient for him to get people worked up, because if you'll quit your job for Sean Hannity, you'll watch him for the rest of your life. But also, you quitting your job, what effect does that have on you? Well, you potentially are thrown out of your house, you lose everything. For him, maybe if the numbers are high enough, it'll look bad for Biden. They are tiny little Lego blocks in the construct he's building to maybe hurt Biden a little bit. That's how little he cares about them. But there are other, super fast, because there's a lot we gotta get
just through. So rarely do we have like the perfect scenario to prove hypocrisy, and this is one of them. Like
100%,
like all of it. And you're talking, and he always talks about how the founding fathers were perfect. The Continental Army, the Washington mandated vaccines among his soldiers. His kids, your kids, everyone's kids, soldiers now when they go abroad have to take a regimen of vaccinations, period. End of story. And they all have submitted until these schmuckos decided that they were going to make this political. We got a vaccine, it's killing a ton of people. It's killed over 700,000 Americans. Take it.
Yeah.
And if 100%. They mandate it, you can quit. Like I'm fine with anyone who quits over a vaccine mandate that they don't want to comply with. That's America to me. You can make those decisions. But it's also America for me to point out, like, your ideas are stupid and they're bad and they're wrong. But I don't hate you. But I'm going to call out when you're wrong. And more importantly, when your dear leader is absolutely snowing you.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I would say if your ideas are so wrong that it leads people to die, then yeah, I'm gonna hate you actually. But two things. One, TYT Sports is in the chat saying he'd quit. Rick would quit for Hilo, but not for me. Thanks. And also, let me just do a general thing. I've said this sort of before. Love every member of the audience, but we've got a million legitimate things to criticize all these anti-vaxxers for, including Sean Hannity. The big mouth stuff, tying that into some sort of homophobic joke, not interested in it. Please keep that out of my chat. I would appreciate that. There's lots of good things. He's literally trying to get people killed. Let's focus on that rather than the other stuff. But anyway, he's not the only one. Fox and Friends was talking about this recently. Now, notably, Fox and Friends is one of the only places on the network that have sort of sometimes Ducey specifically implied that people should get vaccinated. Here's what they had to say about the hypocrisy.
The misinformation he said about Fox. He thought it says, I think it's funny that Fox has a vaccine mandate. You have a testing option at Fox. So what he said is totally inaccurate.
We don't have a mandate, we have a protocol.
Right, that's a little different. Someone should tell the president.
Mandate, that makes you sheep. Complying with the protocol, cool guy.
And if you violate that protocol, you get fired.
You get fired.
You can pack your knives and go.
Yeah.
Like
I've just opted into this 100% mandatory protocol.
It's so stupid. It is so transparent. And there are people go along with it. Why? Because their priority is to feel right. Everyone watching Fox needs to feel smarter and right. That's it. And they like being angry. They call it a protocol, man. It's this, and guess what? That protocol is the thing that Biden introduced that other people are calling a mandate.
Yeah.
Do you realize that?
And again, theirs is 5 times harsher, just to be clear.
Literally 5 times.
Exactly 5 times harsher. Okay, so when are they gonna quit? Well, we're gonna give like 2% fake credit to the one person there that seems to be willing to quit. Kind of, but not really. And that is Dan Pongino. He has recently threatened to quit his Cumulus radio position because of the vaccine mandate. Now understand, they apparently do have an actual, you have to be vaccinated. That is a slight difference. But let's also point out that while he's at least sort of implying he'll walk the walk, he hasn't done it or anything, but he's implying it. He's not saying, well, and also Fox, which has a 5 times harsher mandate than Biden, I'm also gonna lose that. It's a little bit easy to lose your radio position and keep your cable news position. That isn't necessarily the power play that he probably assumes that it is. Bear in mind, his radio show is simulcast on Fox News. So if he loses Cumulus, he still literally has the same show, and he hosts a Saturday night show on the network titled Unfiltered. And I have no idea how much he gets paid there. I'm assuming it's a lot. I know for sure it's too much, but he definitely doesn't want to lose that money. Radio show, he can get rid of that. He didn't really care, but he doesn't want to lose the big money. His patriotism, his performative patriotism only takes him so far, and it ain't taking him out of Fox.
It's so dumb. And he's one of those guys that gets like the paid media placement that rockets him to the top of Facebook impressions. So he probably gets the revenue from that without having to like incur the essentially how much it costs to place that as a promoted video. But he and Ben Shapiro and all those guys are always the number 1, 2, 3, 4 videos on Facebook. And there is no way that any of that is remotely organic, just like Jambagino's jowls, which are steroid grown since 1998.
I think he has perfectly fine jowls. I don't know.
That dude,
I disagree
in my
slightly.
expert opinion, and I'm as much of an expert on steroids as he is on vaccines, but that dude roids up hard.
I would be willing to bet some money. I have no idea. I do think some of them, I think, never would have made it without that inorganic stuff. I think the Pongino's like that, obviously. I mean, his NRA show literally shut down. Like they could not sustain it. Ben Shapiro too, who's gotten millions of dollars in advertising. But I do think now that people know who they are, I think some of the spread is organic because they know what to do. What to do is have no actual values, literally just mine your positions from the audience you want to build and get them really mad all the time.
And
I think once you do that,
behind.
you can get some people to what? What's that?
That's leading from behind. That's what they do.
Sure,
they lead from behind. And that's something they always criticize everybody else from. But yeah, and you'll see them. You'll see the entire, group of like rabid sheep, not lions. Like snap at them. Oh, you told me that I should get vaccinated. Donald Trump, my fear leader, they booed him.
Yeah,
his own vaccine.
Now he doesn't say that so much anymore.
He bombed at the haha hole, and now he's changed his setup to not do those jokes again. Like that's the performance.
Yeah. By the way, I recently rewatched that Kramer video. It is so much worse than I remembered it being. It's really bad. Anyway, that character could definitely run as a Republican. Okay, with that, let's move really quickly to unrelated news. Let's jump into this. I don't want to get you like too excited about the possibility that the US government will actually do something, but supposedly Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin have grown slightly closer, like maybe closer to an agreement. And how do they do that? Well, the power of swearing. Apparently they had to swear at each other. Apparently everybody's just swearing, and that's the thing that we're gonna focus on. So apparently there's gonna be this big week of negotiations. So they decided to meet up. Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin, the head of 2 different parts of the Senate, the progressive part and the radical corporatist part that they call the moderates. And so he had said that he could, that universal pre-K was in, Manchin said, but no tuition-free community college, which Sanders responded with bless. I just love the idea of him shouting that in a meeting. Anyway, Sanders said that Manchin was telling the rest of the Democratic caucus to go F themselves and bend to one senator's agenda. Manchin disputed that, even though it's like, okay, it's not totally accurate. It's at least 2 senators' agenda, maybe 3, but it's definitely what's happening. And he said that Biden hadn't won West Virginia, and his very presence in the Senate is remarkable. And that is true. Biden didn't win West Virginia, and this bill only has stakes for West Virginia, so that should be foremost in our minds. But apparently they argued back and forth, then they met privately, they posed for a photo and publicly reconciled. They've since met 4 times in 1 week, apparently now softening their rhetoric, no more S-bombs, B-bombs, G-bombs, anything like that, and speaking more hopefully of a deal. Apparently it's a breakthrough. That's what it says in all of these different places. I don't know what that means in practice. Did we get something that we didn't have a week ago? I don't know, but apparently they needed to get in a room, yell at each other, and then hug it out, I guess, Brett.
Yeah, I'm glad that they're communicating. They hadn't been communicating before. Manchin typically comes around in the long run, but not always. And we don't know how he's going to come down in these negotiations, but I don't know. I think when he talks about how he, as a West Virginian Democrat senator, it's just because that's remarkable. No. Let's evaluate some things. Something called the personal vote. the governor of West Virginia used to be a Democrat and now is a Republican. If he was still a Democrat, he probably, he can countervail that with some kind of personal vote name recognition. And then let's talk about how Joe Manchin typically keeps from alienating his base in West Virginia. It's by catering to a certain cultural situation that's going on there, but also like he can still, come back to any government programs that help his state. You can do that without making them feel like, and it's his job to message that, but without making them feel like the government welfare state is coming for West Virginia and telling them they can't like blaze their own trail on a country road. Like,
yeah,
you just can handle it through messaging, Joe, which is something that you're not going to shy away from because you have been posting online responses to what Bernie Sanders is saying. Paul Begala is going out there saying there's nothing better for Joe Manchin than to have Bernie Sanders mad at him. Fine. Spin that into picking the policies that you want that will help West Virginians. And the part where I start to get more cynical of Joe Manchin, if that was even possible, is when the things he's fighting for are like subsidies for coal and protections for coal that will keep him rich, while ships that have sailed don't double back to pick up the people of West Virginia. Yeah. And that's what the climate aspects of this negotiation coming from the left, people further left than him, are set at helping out with, helping the transition so that West Virginia can continue to be a place that powers America. And Jennifer Granholm, energy secretary, is on CNN messaging toward that. Yes, I understand that he is trying to keep West Virginia as a power center for America. So let's try to get them to transition to be the home in America where labor is cheap anyway.
Yes, and that is why I have said the infrastructure bill should include enough money to buy him a solar company so that he can then just continue to profit off of the energy if that's the cheaper thing to do.
And employ West Virginians.
Exactly. And by the way, he recently said in one of these meetings, yeah, I'll give him, how about we have this? How about we have zero? Like, yeah, okay, I want you to go and go to the hollers or whatever and tell West Virginia, I'm perfectly fine giving you $0. But he doesn't have to do that. And the pressure has been put on him to require that he do that. Super fast, because we don't have time. Politico, their like big morning thing where they like sum up a couple pieces of news, had this big thing about Biden swearing to. In meetings with aides, Biden's vulgarities include but are limited to F them, what the F are we doing, why the F isn't this happening, bull ass, damn it, or just simply F. According to several current and former aides, when pushing aides for better answers, he will sometimes say, don't bull ass a bull asser. When he cusses around women, it is always, and I mean always, followed by an immediate apology. That's kind of funny, actually. Is this designed to give us the idea that he's passionate and invested? Because it doesn't feel like that if he's not even swearing in public. It's not like he does a meeting where he's like, that effing Joe Manchin, I'm sick of his S. Okay, then the swearing would be noteworthy. But if I need to find out from Politico's newsletter, that is not evidence of much, I don't think. I don't know, do you feel differently, briefly?
I mean, Politico's trying to point out, oh my God, they're cursing. Ooh, behind the scenes, they care. Come out in front of the scenes and talk to us. Now, I get it. The big question I have is, does the office of the presidency hold the kind of weight that it does only seem to hold when you're watching The West Wing, where like you got your home court advantage and the president sits you down and the president asks you for something? And does that disappear with two factors? One, that the president of the United States is Joe Biden, who's been your colleague in the Senate for years before, and the vice president, sure, but he's a longtime senator. Or is he like, let's make a deal the way we used to in the Senate? I think my big concern is that, and Biden is trying to please a lot of different people, and at the end we'll probably get a $2 trillion package that covers a few bases, but not the ones that a lot of us want. And then the Democrats are going to be tasked with like messaging that they delivered for America. And when they can't message along the way to delivering for America, and it's kind of gotten away from them, and I don't know who the leader of the Democrats is right now because I don't hear from them. I don't talk to them. I only hear the detractors who are foot dragging. Like, come on, step up and take charge and be dynamic the way America needs you to be. And maybe part of that is dropping an S-bomb every now and then.
I wouldn't mind it if it was in pursuit of something good. Okay, we got to take our second break. When we come back, we've been complaining for a long time about people in government owning stocks. Soon they won't be able to, but they is like this many people. But we'll have the details after this.
Roar, I'm a dragon.
Okay, buddy, let's see what's going on out there in the audience. We've got some new members, lover members. Stephanie Cribbs has been a tier 1 member for 7 months, says, can I be Dr. High Dragon? You can. And at tier 1, you get access to the badges and the emojis as well. By the way, I really like this new feature. So YouTube is still lacking gift subbing, which is insane that they have not added that in all this time. But I do like that you get that like sort of effectively free super chat when your membership re-ups. I think that's a cool idea. I like that. And kind of like for most people, it basically pays for the membership. It's as much as you would have done with a super chat, except you become a member. So that just seems like a better idea. But anyway, Jimbo Dragon has been a tier 2 member for 2 months. At that tier, you get access to our top 10 list. This Monday, Viviana and I did our top 10 red flags, things that make us judge people. Jimbo says, my dragon has started hatching, yay. Just wanted to say that there's no justice in charging Alec Baldwin with a crime. It was an accident. Look, I read Adrienne Lawrence's tweets about that. I'm not an expert. She says that he almost certainly won't face criminal charges, but a civil lawsuit for him and others involved is likely. Maybe we'll talk to her at some point.
I think even that initial statement saying he's not going to be charged, he shouldn't be charged, or I mean, I don't know what he did. I don't know what happened. Was he negligent? If so, then charges. If not, then no charges. That's how we must all proceed.
Agreed. Non-human humanist says Bernie took his boxing mittens and started a good trouble. Good for him, good for US, good for this planet. Yeah, no, I like it. It's just I'm no longer in the like woo phase of the reconciliation bill. I'm the like, okay, let's see what happens at this point. Like when they stripped away the $150 billion because it might financially hurt Joe Manchin because of his coal company. Like that is itself such a massive indictment of our entire system of government that can be allowed to happen. And they got rid of community college, and the parental leave is going to be massively cut. These are massive, significant cuts. They're going to change people's lives, and all for the negative. Derek says, turned 34 today and feel like I've been sick of Joe Manchin for 35 of them. He needs to just take his yacht and go home. Have a lovely Friday, squad. That's good. I like that. Also, I'm envious of your youth, your young blood. Zane says, happy birthday to my eldest daughter, Zalia, turning 7 Monday, and older brother, Xanon, turning 13 Tuesday. Dragon Daddy and Brett, hashtag, you know what it's gonna be if you've been watching for a while. Thank you, Zane, for your message, much appreciated. Let's see, Bart Kyle says, my dudes, 1987's The Running Man is my jam. Great cast with Schwarzenegger, Jim Brown, Jesse Ventura, Mick Fleetwood of Fleetwood Mac, that I did not know. Dweezil Zappa, along with a stellar performance by Richard Dawson from the Family Feud game show. It's over the top, has amazing one-liners, and it made accurate predictions about life in 2017, including an economic collapse and a critique of US TV culture. A masterpiece in 80s cinema, and I'm looking forward to the new adaptation directed by Edgar Wright. That was actually really good and helpful, actually. Good. We should do movie reviews. We need to bring back What the Flick. Anyway, I kind of want to see that now.
I didn't know Richard Wright was doing the reboot. That'll be fun.
I did not know either. That's awesome. Dreamweaver Dragon gifted 5 tier 1 subs. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Brett, your today is absolutely top tier, says Fonzui. Interesting. Thank you. Okay. T Underhill says, John, can you say this about Brett? Quote, look at this distinguished gentleman. Look at the way he is sitting. Yes, very distinguished. I see. I don't know what that's a reference to, but he is very distinguished. And by the way, can you tell that he's on vacation from the shirt in the background? It's from TikTok. Oh jeez. I'm old. Kyle says, thought on Trump's latest statement, including defying a subpoena. Oh, there's no time. Okay, we'll get to it later. Sorry. We have more coming up though after this.
Roar. My name is Roar Guy. I roar.
I really should have been watching Sophie in the lead up to that. Anyway, we got a lot to get to, so let's jump into this next story. If you're not a big fan of government corruption, well, have I got some good but extremely specific news for you. And that is that yesterday it was announced that the Federal Reserve is going to be changing one of their policies. And effectively, they're going to be instituting a wide-ranging ban on officials owning individual stocks and bonds and limits other activities as well to try to stop them using their position to financially benefit themselves. So Fed officials can no longer have holdings in shares of particular companies, nor can they invest in individual bonds, hold agency securities or derivative contracts. The new rules replace existing regulations that, while somewhat restrictive, still allowed officials such as regional presidents to buy and sell stocks. Under the new rules, the officials will have to provide 45 days notice in advance of buying or selling any securities that are still allowed. And if they're late for that, I swear to God, Dave Leventhal is gonna be on your ass, so watch out. Anyway, they will also be required to hold the securities for at least a year, and they cannot buy or sell funds during, quote, heightened financial market stress. And so that includes top policymakers, such as those who sit on the Federal Open Market Committee, along with senior staff. Future investments will have to be confined to diversified assets, such as mutual funds, things that track either the entirety of the stock market or particular sectors of the stock market, basically aggregations that cannot as explicitly allow you to influence your buying or selling based on what you know is about to happen and what you choose to do. And there's been a number of different scandals involving them and their trading disclosures and trading stocks on the eve of statements from the head of the Fed and things like that. So this seems to be trying to stop that, Brett.
Yeah, this is one of those things. Good work if you could get it. Like if you're a policymaker at the Fed and you have a certain kind of stock, it's gonna be really difficult for you to resist the urge to enact a policy that'll help you, especially when there's overheating and you're like, I kind of want to stop this thing from happening. And if I do that, it'll kind of help me out. Yeah, that should absolutely be the case. I think that there is some kind of value in a philosophical sense for having people who make policy benefit from the holistic well-being of an economy that they oversee rather than a specific aspect of it. And so if you had some kind of index fund or some kind of generally diversified portfolio of everything that reflects the ups and downs of the GDP, manufacturing, employment on a domestic, sense. But when you can pick winners and losers in a micro sense by enacting macro policy, then especially when there's so many different kinds of products out there in the financial market that allow you to pick specific winners and losers and benefit by picking losers if you do it right, and then create winners and losers, then that absolutely should be something that is wildly off limits. In the same way that when you go into a movie screening and you put your phone in a plastic bag and you can't get it till afterwards, like you need to take your financial portfolio, put it away when you go into this job so that you can't do something nefarious and ruin everything for everyone else who put so much work into like making the economy work or their own personal job just because it would benefit you personally. And you can get it back when you leave, but in the meantime, you have to completely get rid of all your specific individual stock.
Yeah, and look, I think I would go even further. Maybe this is crazy, but I'm totally fine with effectively limiting virtually every avenue for people to benefit financially from their jobs, during their jobs, after their jobs, lifetime bans on lobbying.
In jobs in general, you mean in policy making
jobs? I'm saying specifically lobbying positions, stuff like that. They should not be doing big speeches while they're in office. I'd probably have some period of time they can't do big speeches afterward. I do not want people entering into public service to do private service for themselves or people that they know that own corporations. And maybe you can go too far in restricting that. We're not a light year from that. We've now extended this, but this is a good move, because they have such direct control. Do they have less or more direct control than Congress people or senators? I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I would say that if you think that they could be influenced to do corrupt stuff to benefit themselves financially, I would very much like to apply that exact same philosophy to those who are voting based on these things, going to private meetings like Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue and investing accordingly. This makes a lot of sense, and it makes equal sense to be applied to our elected officials.
And this is something that I'm sure you can message well with like the populist movement in America. You should call it the America Fund, the America Index. You can get a bunch of people on the right to buy into that if you call it the America Fund, so that they are invested in America as we would define it. Now, the most hilarious part of that is there will be these weird jockeyings for people having access to be the selected, firm that is included in the America Fund, and that will 100%, I hate to break it to everyone, be determined by lobbyists who have access to get into.
I don't think there has to be just one fund. I think most broad mutual funds would be many steps less corrupt. It's not 100% better, but it's a lot better.
I'm with you on that. In that, I like your term, like light years away from it. Like let's try it. There's definitely things that if you ask any American on the street, like should Joe Manchin be in charge of climate policy while being a coal baron?
Insane.
I think a lot of people will see the inherent hypocrisy and corruption in that.
Yeah, and I think that I would ban private ownership, stuff like that too. I mean, that's way more corrupt than the stocks, I think, and way more than the campaign donations. But we have to move on this last story. We have very few minutes remaining, so let's jump into this. There's been this debate online: is Twitter biased? And if so, for who? You probably have heard many times the companies like Twitter and Facebook are so biased against the right wing. And don't show us those lists of the things that they produce the most viral, get angry quick content. That always being true does not prove that it's not biased against them. They could be shadow banned. Do you know that? Well, Twitter decided this year to look into it, and they did a study to see if certain types of political content are being algorithmically amplified. So is the algorithm itself, which chooses what to show you, benefiting certain types of speech? And so they looked at millions of tweets of elected officials in 7 countries. So this is the US, but it's also Canada, France, Germany, Japan, Spain, the UK as well as hundreds of millions of tweets containing links to articles from news outlets. So stuff that is about politics. In all the countries except Germany, tweets about political content from elected officials, regardless of party or whether the party's in power, do see algorithmic amplification. And that was benefiting the political right. And it didn't mean that the party that was in power necessarily, like it was biased in that way. That 6 out of 7 countries, again, all but Germany, tweets posted by accounts from the political right received more algorithmic amplification than the political left when studied as a group. And when it came to news outlets, the exact same thing occurred. Right-leaning news outlets received more algorithmic amplification than left-leaning news outlets. So both for individual politicians, are there things being seen? And links to political content, the bias is there. The bias is towards the right wing, and that will change nothing about the way they message about social media. They will still whine and complain constantly because it is to their personal immediate benefit to do that. And in fact, this might be an effect of years of whiny lobbying from the right.
Yeah, a lot of obvious things coming out of this. But the one thing that I kind of want to focus on is that maybe it's because the right is good at testing and messaging, because they set typically the framing for most discussions in America, and they do it in a way that ends up triggering things that if you were designing any algorithm to give people more of what they want, you would design in favor of. So the Republicans are the ones who come out and say like death tax and instead of estate tax. They're the ones who come out and say that like this is all communist, the communist, socialist, radical people. And you have the conversation based on the rhetorical footing that they initially set down. And so that gets people that are supportive of them most riled up. And since there is not as prevalent and unified a message from the left that galvanizes a discussion in that way, the left ends up focusing on the annoying right-wing people who are monsters on purpose. And so you get more interaction on that side. So whether it is, I think that's probably the genesis of it. And it's incidental over time that because whoever initially defines the conversation typically benefits from it. I think if I'm, speculating here, but I bet that has a giant impact on it. That's one thing. And the other is there's way more paid media on the right than there is on the left. You can't convince me otherwise. Even like on Reddit, when I see like the ridiculous Toilet Paper USA posts, the screen caps they use of like Michael Knowles are all promoted. They buy their views, and that does it. And now if you're on the staff at Facebook, and people are like, maybe we should stop making it as right leaning, and you're like, what, they do paid advertising, and also people on the left are talking about it and shooting it down, and that's more speech.
Sure,
they're not gonna change it. And in my conversations over time with people who work at those places, they're like, I have to explain the algorithm to you. We can't just like turn one thing on and one thing off about it. We have to, throw. If you are what you eat, we need to throw more leftist stuff into the algorithm, and it eats it and becomes a slightly more leftist. But we don't know what kind of ungodly amalgamation it's become over the years.
Yes, although we try to play to very different emotions, and they might not be less inherently viral. Anyway, we have only seconds left. Thank you everybody for being here for the first hour. There is more coming. If you're on Twitch or on YouTube, we will be back after this. Welcome back, everyone. How are you doing over on Twitch and YouTube with the Members app? I'm John Iadarola. Brett Erlich joins me, and we've got political garbage coming up very soon, but not quite yet. Hold on your butts, it's coming. I did want to let you know about a few other things that are coming, though, including potentially a new Dragon Squad Heather hoodie that could come to you, to your house. But first, you have to go to shoptyt.com. It's getting a little bit cold. Maybe you want to rep the Dragon Squad, but not be freezing. That's how you do it. New Dragon Squad hoodie, shoptyt.com. Also coming up right after the show, youtube.com/indisputable_TYT or on Twitch, Indisputable. Dr. Rashad Ritchie will be joined by Wozni Lambre. Should be a lot of fun. Kristen Hawkins will be on for a debate. That'll be coming up right after our program, 26 minutes from now. I want to read just a couple of your comments. Pirate Dragon has been a tier 1 member for 10 months. Says, woohoo, 11 months on Twitch and 10 months here. Switch my TYT membership to this since I can't afford both. I appreciate that, totally understand it. Don't let Jank hear you say that, but thank you. I appreciate you being here for TDR. Okay, let's see. Stoneflower Dragon says this needs to extend to apply to legislators like Mr. Cole Manchin. Totally, the fact that you can own a coal company and decide whether we use coal or switch from it is like, that is a base level question for a country. Do you have a functioning democracy or is it corrupt? If you get to decide, no, our policy benefits me financially, not other people, that's crazy. This is crazy. And with that, let's jump.
Zombo with 20 gifted tier 1 subs on Twitch. Holy
20?
farty fart pants. Dreamweaver Dragon with 5. Thank you all so much, including Heather M, who said, Brett is the best host. John, you're cool too. I love watching you two together. It ended up being a compliment for you.
13 months, thank you. That's right in time for Halloween, 13 months. And Beefinezzi hit 14 months as another month, another sub. Keep doing what you're doing. I plan to, I don't know how to do anything else. So with that, let's jump into this video.
This is a global coup d'etat by the most evil cabal of people on the planet in the history of mankind. And if it is not stopped in the very near future, they will win. That's what's at stake, control of the world. They're putting eggs in people's bodies. If you didn't see yesterday's True News, you need to watch it. It's an egg that hatches into a synthetic parasite and grows inside your body. This is like a sci-fi nightmare, and it's happening in front of us.
That is like a sci-fi nightmare. I think he means Alien. I think he's referring to Alien there. I love that instantly. That's Rick Wiles, by the way, preacher at a Florida church. So he's just basically preaching, what the good Bible says about synthetic parasites and eggs and vaccines and all that. He's anti-vaccine. Did you know that? He is in fact anti-vaccine. He also had COVID in June. Weird. I thought he would have dodged it. He's so responsible. He was infected just weeks after he said that he will not be taking any of the available vaccines as they were being used to commit genocide. In fact, afterward, he said, this was a full frontal hit from hell on your True News family. Because Jesus Christ lives in us, we shall live too. Your prayers needed for the above family members and team. Thanks to Jesus Christ, I survived the CCP COVID genocide of the American people. Yeah, I want to also give credit to Jesus Christ for getting him through the COVID that he allowed him to get. Mysterious ways and all that. But anyway, that was for me in practice watching that video. Two things. One, as Sophie pointed out to us, he had very broad shoulder pads. It was like watching one of the Goombas in the Mario Brothers movie from the 80s. But also it was very much the Vince McMahon thing, the meme, where the first one is like, oh, the vaccine's fake. And then he gets a little bit more excited for a global cable. And then, oh my God, there's eggs. Oh, synthetic parasites! It just keeps getting more intense.
He's wearing that jacket that looks like in old cartoons where they obviously just like cut out a hole in the character's jacket and have a plaid behind it where they move and the plaid pattern stays the same as they're like moving all around. Also, these guys are fantastic. You're right. He definitely the giant shoulders. Is there something about that mesmerizes people into submission? And then also, like, you gotta love that the place is so not true that the word "true" is misspelled. Like it's TRU, and if you believe that spells true, you'll believe anything. So you're at the right place. It's kind of like a self-selecting audience of people.
Exactly. No, continue. What's up?
It's just like that closed loop of stupidity where they're like, did you see that thing? Can you believe what they're showing on the news? It's our channel. We did it. We lied to you. But can you believe the way we lied to you? Yeah. If you can, well, then stick around because we got more where that came from.
Where's the like, why don't we see the photos of the parasite? Like, where's the ultrasound of the parasite? No, because every single doctor is in on it. I get it. Okay. Man, they're just like, it's difficult, I think. There's a lot of crazy people making a lot of crazy content. If you want to stand out and be able to own a private jet and stuff, you got to get real crazy. And I think he's doing a pretty good job there. I would like to point out in 2019, he said that a Jewish cabal was attempting to impeach then President Donald Trump, just so you understand who he is politically. It's not just global cabal. It's not just eggs and vaccines. It's anti-Semitism as well. By the way, in January 2020, he said COVID-19 was God's way of punishing China for having a godless communist government. Oops. Anyway, I guess he basically hit everyone. So he seems to hate a lot of types of governments. Maybe it's not about the governments. Maybe it's about germs. But maybe that's not as exciting as his theory. I don't know. By the way, some people have been having fun online with this. Mike V tweeted, "This is 100% my mate had his second dose and look what happened to him." And you can see he's getting the same reference.
Not again.
Not again. Baby. Elliot says, "Wait, so am I going to be Venom or Magneto? I'd like to know, please." Yeah, wait. So are the parasites magnetic? Because that would be an easy way to find them in the body, one would think. These people are insane, but let's bear in mind they have large audiences. This is not, we talk about this for a little bit of fun and games, but it isn't fundamentally fun and games. People listen to him and they get sick and die. Some right-wing preachers have gotten sick and died, but far from their flock have. And so he's doing this for money, but there's a wake of bodies falling behind him. Any final thoughts before we move on?
Nope. Move on. Let's get her.
Dear, what is it? The apocalypse? Okay, let's jump into this video.
When do we deploy troops to Australia? When do we invade Australia and free an oppressed people who are suffering under a totalitarian regime? When do we spend trillions of dollars to spread democracy in Australia? Australia currently, make no mistake, is a tyrannical police state. Its citizens are quite literally being imprisoned against their will. So when do we deploy?
That was a very serious comment from Candace Owens. You know it's serious because they wrote "make no mistake" in the teleprompter. She's talking about how Australia, in a bid to not have their people die needlessly from COVID, have had very limited lockdowns. Actually less than we have, but it's enough to infuriate the right. And so she's joking, but you'll see later that she really does seem to think we're on the verge of some sort of war about invading Australia. Brett, what do you think?
I want to see the rest of it because when you say like, why don't they have this like permanent, like, I'm not quite sure because I haven't gotten to that part in the teleprompter where I actually say what my rhetorical angle completely is. So I'm going to give myself some extra time by having that default. Maybe this is sarcastic, but my audience is so stupid that this is actually how they do speak to the manager voice. It's at all times trying to imply that we're all smarter than everyone. So we're talking slower so that they get what we're saying. But also, yeah, they just want to seem smarter and superior to folks.
100%. And look, she's now saying, we'll jump ahead to her tweet. I apologize, we're running out of time. She says, "I said in jest, it was just in jest. Why the rush to lie about me? Because I told the truth or the true, depending on what platform you're on. Except that with the right, it's always, see, for most people, a joke exists in your mind. You intend to tell a joke, so you tell it. For them, they say things and then decide whether it was a joke or serious based on the reaction. And I don't know a lot about what she believes about the tyrannical Australian government, but I do know that she tweeted back on October 7th, looking into what is happening in Australia, and I can now confidently say that World War III is upon us. We are in the midst of a global psychological warfare. Under the guise of COVID-19, governments worldwide have declared war on their people for full totalitarian control. Okay, so maybe that too is a joke. It doesn't read like one, And so with that being a couple weeks away, the comment she just made, she's now saying that's a joke. Maybe it was. I doubt she actually wants to invade them, but she's talking about how it's going to be a war that encompasses the entirety of the earth. So does she even know if it's a joke anymore? I know that she's got the teleprompter and she's trying to be very serious and she's doing her performative thing and everything, but I don't think that she really knows or cares about any of this. She's not invested enough to actually be joking or actually making a real point. She is literally just saying things.
Also, like, there's an answer to your rhetorical question. She's talking about how the Taliban's worse than the Australian government, or is it? Because the Australian government is locking people down. My response is the Taliban's worse. They're killing women because they're women and they want to learn facts. You want to kill people by misrepresenting facts. And the Australian government has done a very good job of keeping infections low by doing all the things that you say they shouldn't. And you can't let that be the case. So you have to call them out for tyranny when if you go ask an Australian, they're like, no, fine with it. Good, nice. Good on ya. We're just gonna stay in and figure it out ourselves. Thank you. Bye.
Yep. And they have had far, far, far less deaths. 1,500 deaths, 130,000 cases. They are a much smaller population, but even for controlling for that, they're doing much, much better because they actually gave a minimum of a damn. Okay, with that, we're going to be launching into this in just one moment. I did want to read, Nana Nikki sent us in a super chat saying, so once they're vaxxed, they can take that anti-parasitic, right? Yeah, isn't that the perfect compromise? You get the vaccine, which has the consequence of venom being in you, but then the ivermectin kills it. So why not just take both? Why not just take both? And Moondragon says, wasn't that a Sliders episode? That sounds sort of familiar.
Everything was a Sliders episode.
That's true. Dusty Jones says, this isn't Resident Evil 4, WTF. That was actually sort of the plot of Resident Evil 4. Thank you, Rick Wiles. Okay, with that, we ready to go? It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. Brett, I never know what garbage I'm gonna get from you. Who have you chosen for this week?
All right, so I'll go first. Here is who my garbage person is. It is this group called Pharma at PHRMA. It is whatever it stands for. It's like pharmaceutical company. It used to be PHMA, Pharmaceutical Manufacturers of America. Now it's Pharmaceutical Researchers and Manufacturers of America. And that change is all in keeping with how horrible they are. It is a group of people who make prescription drugs and spend millions and millions of dollars to trick grandma and grandpa into thinking that if Medicare drug prices are negotiated by the Medicare organization, by Medicare itself, then somehow it's gonna kill grandma. This is a trick. Here's an example of one of their ads that they're putting out there.
My name is Olga. I got the COVID vaccine and I feel blessed. Now, some politicians want to save money in Medicare by having the government decide what medicine I can and can't get. Which medicines I take isn't up to them. And I don't want politicians playing doctor. I'm no scientist, but I know this is a bad idea. Let's protect Medicare as it is, and let's keep finding new cures, especially now.
And it's not all delightful Cajun ladies who did take the vaccine, so they're not against that. But if you go on their Twitter feed, it is a bunch of rich pharma executives. Here's some graphics that we have. Like, why do politicians want to limit medicines in Medicare? And then they have another one. It's an infographic. Like, they'll negotiate medicine prices in Medicare is what politicians say. But what they mean is they'll decide which medicines you can and can't get. It is all like executives from Eli Lilly and Merck going at each other's at the throats of essentially like even healthcare insurance companies who don't want to pay the premium. So it's just this fascinating garbage, every man for themselves cesspool, where now they're like attacking the Kaiser Family Foundation for explaining to people both sides. And people still coming down on the side of we want lower drug prices. Because everything they do is, and they have another one where there's a woman with diabetes who's like, can you believe that they want to make my medicine less expensive? And just the last thing I'll say is at the end of it, just to remind everyone when they bring up like our version of Medicare and our way of doing healthcare in America is great. Just remember this. Americans spend more than $10,000 per person on healthcare, more than double the amount shelled out by Australians, Canadians, and residents of the United Kingdom. Yet, Americans have the lowest life expectancy at birth, which is like 2 years less than the average for the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development's 36 countries. So like we spend twice as much per person for healthcare and we die sooner under this stupid system that's kept stupid by insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies who pretend that they need that money for research when they're trying to tell you that like, listen, if you change the rules, we're not going to try to make money anymore. Yeah. Yes, the reason you don't want us to change the rules and you're spending so much money is because you'll stop at nothing to keep making money. So you're gonna still be you. That's why we have rules in the first place. They're so garbage.
It's insane. The ads are so see-through, but they'll probably get through to some people. We saw the same sorts of ads from Uber and Lyft and all that, attacking the ballot measure here. I love the line that I don't want politicians playing doctor, but I do want my pharmaceutical company playing politics. Like I definitely want them to be doing that. And I don't want politicians deciding what drugs I can take. I want the high price of these drugs deciding whether I can take them or not.
Yeah, there's a viral tweet going out. There's a viral tweet saying like that in Utah, they fly people to Mexico who work for the state so that they can get pharmaceutical drugs and then fly them back because it's cheaper that way.
It's insanity. Yeah, and no consumer actually believes what they're saying, but you might be able to bamboozle them with some money. And thankfully, they have people like Kirsten Sinema in office helping them. So they run their ads, then they buy Kirsten Sinema, and that's how they stop Medicare negotiation from happening. For my garbage person of the week, I've got a fun one. Dana Perino. Don't know if she's ever been my garbage person before, but she decided to launch an attack against clean energy. She's gonna try to make a logical case against it. Here's what she had to say.
When these wind turbines, when the blades end their life, their useful life, when they go into a landfill, they do not disintegrate. You cannot recycle them. They will be there forever. So I think that there's just a misunderstanding of just how really green these are.
Well, that's right. There's no painless way to get energy. I mean, every energy source has a downside, period, whether it's nuclear, hydro, coal plants, natural gas. It doesn't matter. They all have a downside. Energy is not free. It never will be. But the downside from wind farms so far exceeds their upside.
Okay, so I apologize. You did get a bonus garbage person there, and I'll address what Tucker Carlson had to say. But her first point was, it's not green because you can't recycle the blades. And bear in mind, they really care about recycling in the same way that they really care about women's high school sports. It's not just a political thing that they're using; they really care about it. And so, look, she's not 100% wrong. Bloomberg Green reported earlier this year that wind turbine blades being disposed of in landfills. That does actually happen. Even though the waste stream represents only a tiny fraction of US municipal solid waste, it's clearly not an ideal situation. That is true. And so right now, some of those blades do get thrown away. Unlike old coal plants, those get turned into like, rumpus rooms and things like that. All of that is reusable. The machinery they use to dig out coal, the oil derricks, all of that totally reusable. They turn it into textbooks later on. You'll notice they didn't actually apply that logic to the dirty energy, just to the turbines. But I want to reassure you that there is progress being made in this. Two large utilities in the US, Pacific Corp and Mid-American Energy, are working with the Tennessee company Carbon Rivers to recycle some of the utilities' spent turbine blades. Europe has companies that are working on it as well. They have all these technologies that I don't even know how to pronounce that they're working on to eventually be able to recycle them. But again, they're not recycling all of the dirty stuff like, the oil tankers. Are they being turned into Royal Caribbean rides? Like the derricks out in the Gulf Coast, they're not turned into Club Med after. Like, why are we only talking about turbines with this? And by the way, I will point out to the second point that, well, if you can't recycle them, as Tucker Carlson says, then it's just as bad as everything. In fact, worse, the cons way outweigh the benefits because of the recycling. I will remind you, we've read this before. New research from Harvard University in collaboration with a bunch of others found that more than 8 million people died in 2018 alone from fossil fuel pollution. That means that air pollution for burning fossil fuels like coal and diesel were responsible for about 20% of all deaths on Earth in 2018. But you can't recycle the turbine blades, so you weigh the pros and cons on that, America. Brett, what do you think?
I think it's just the saddest part is the person who knew that, the saddest part is the person who knew that they needed something bad to say about windmills. They just hadn't gotten it yet. And they think that this is a really good burn. And Dana 100%. Perino said it. And then Tucker Carlson just like, absolutely true. He doesn't know if that's true. He has no clue if that's true. That is a tell from Tucker Carlson. Yes, that's true. When he doesn't care about it, he just believes the person on his show is there, and he wants them to feel good, and he wants the audience to feel like everything that's said by a guest is something that they should take straight to the bank. When the sad part is the only person taking stuff to the bank is Tucker Carlson.
That's true. Hey, the coal CEOs are doing pretty well too. But you're right. Okay, well, those are our garbage people, but who did you vote for? Well, 32,000 of you went and voted this week. And here are your top 5 community garbage people of the week. Coming in at number 5 with 4% of the vote is Jay Jacobs for comparing India Walton to David Duke. That was so bad. At number 4 with 8% of the vote is the New York subway officers for refusing to wear masks on the job, and in fact, booting people out if they ask them to wear masks. Number 3 with 12% of the vote is Mo Brooks for profiting off Pfizer while being anti-vax. I'm glad that that's at least in number 3. That was an important story. Number 2, you've got with 25% of the vote, Madison Cawthorn for telling moms to raise their sons to be monsters. Ugh. But number 1, oh no. With 51% of the vote, Tucker Carlson for turning Colin Powell's death into propaganda about literally everything. That is your community garbage person of the week. Thank you to everybody who voted. But thank you especially to Brett Erlich for joining me, not only as he does every week, but in fact this week, his vacation week. Brett, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm gonna go get my petty now. Hey, what are you guys up to? I'm gonna go get my parasite peel. I'll be back next week.
Hilarious. Anyway, thank you everybody. It's been a big old week. We still got more for you. The Power Panel, Nina Turner and Francesca Fiorentini and Farron Cousins and Wazzy Lambre. And then there's Game Busters and also Galaxy Brain. There's a lot going on, but Indisputable is up next. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you a little bit later on, but until then, stay safe out there, stay sane out there, and we'll see you soon.